Hello there. This is your friend Jonathan at the Piano Lesson. Welcome back. This show was actually just done, except I didn't have my microphone on. So all of that went out into the ether, but I'm going to do it again because I know I can, and now I'm going to do it even better. But before I do that, I wanted to mention we just had a fantastic solar eclipse, and I made my own little short 2-minute synopsis of the fantastic solar eclipse, which is on my video website, YouTube site, which you should take a look at because it's wow. I don't know, just wow, it's great. All right, what are we going to talk about today? Let's talk about being a one-man band. A one-man band. That's a term that people don't use anymore. You used to see people playing these contraptions. This is like a drum sets with like horns on them, and and be stomping. When I grew up, it was not long ago. It was very common for guys to play in clubs as a one-man band. So they had bass pedals. That's something you don't see people using anymore. Like, they had for organists out there. Organists know what bass pedals are. The pedals that look like piano keys, except for your feet, and they were totally dedicated just for bass sounds. But you might be a guitar player too. You might be playing your guitar and singing at the same time, and maybe you'd be knocking your knees together because you'd have like some cymbals or something. That was a one-man band. Well, the piano, even though it's one instrument, it is a one-man band. It's an orchestra, and as pianists, that's the whole fun of playing the piano. And it's also an obligation, kind of. I mean, we really want to sound like a band when we're playing. So what does that mean? Well, it means that we have to get across the intention of a bass player and a guitar player and a saxophone player and a drummer and all of those things. We have to be able to keep a steady beat and also play the right notes. One of those methods of doing that, one of the stylistic methods, is what is known as stride piano. So a stride, typically we think of a stride as maybe like a long step, a long walk, something of that nature. But in piano, it means moving your hand, okay, typically the left hand, over the course of the keyboard from the low part to the high part. And typically what you're doing is you're playing a bass note and a chord, right? And typically you're doing it in tempo. So if you have a nice steady beat, you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's typically what you're doing. And the right hand is doing something else. So this is your bass, this is your guitar player, and this is your, your flute player or saxophone player, and you're playing something like this. I missed that note. Right, that's the whole fun of playing the piano. So how do you get to that point? And that's just one simple example. There's many ways to do stride piano. There's many aspects of it. I would say that for those folks that are interested in really learning to play the piano, and probably the golden era of jazz piano was the 1920s and 30s, and maybe the precursors to that during Scott Joplin and the ragtime piano players, and Jelly Roll Morton. They were really consummate pianists, virtuosos. They were playing the whole piano. Nowadays when we hear jazz pianists play, typically we hear them in a group situation, and typically what we hear is just these sort of very punctuated percussive chords. Usually they're rootless voicings, and we're hearing single notes. We're not really hearing. We're not hearing the whole chord harmonized, I mean, that's really how stride players played. So they had fistfuls of notes. Who were they? Well, Art Tatum was one. James P. Johnson was another. Willie the Lion Smith, he was one of my favorites, maybe my favorite. Fats Waller, another great stride piano player. You could listen to that music all day long and you would have so much music to try to figure out. So rather than taking a chord and just playing, which is not bad either, there's nothing wrong with that, but eventually we get a little tired of that. How do you develop that? Okay, so here's what you do. You start out just by playing a bass note. Think simply. When we talk about bass, the word bass, B-A-S-S, not B-A-S-C, we're talking about the low range of the piano. And we're typically, the lowest note is an E, the low E. That is the lowest string on a bass. You can go lower in some instances, but typically that's not the case. And typically there's 4 strings on the bass, but they're tuned in fourths, E, A, D. Those are typically the area where what we consider bass, and maybe G, way down there. Not up here, okay? Not up here, but down here. You know the difference? And definitely not up here. That's not bass, okay? This is bass down here. And bass and drums go together. Typically, bass players and drummers listen to one another. And that's what's keeping the beat. So, keeping the beat, by the way, you know, this is a monk tune, right? Just keeping the beat on B flat. This is B flat 7. Right. That's not so easy to do. Looks easy, but it's not so simple. Or you could just take the chord. So this is a blues, B flat, D, F, A flat are the notes I'm playing. But we can apply this to any situation. Now, breaking that up, okay? So let's say playing the bass note once and the chord 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Already, that may be a little much to do right away. And there's another element to that. There's a dynamic element, which I don't want to talk too much about at the moment. But typically you want the bass to be one dynamic, one volume, and then the chord to be another. Typically you want the chord to be light and soft, all right? You don't want it to be overbearing, right? That's not gonna sound very good, right? Likewise with the bass. You typically want to have what's called a DYNAMIC, dynamic balance, BALANCE. And so thinking vertically, okay, thinking vertically. So we're thinking, we got the bass down here and the chord, right, which we'll just say is a guitar, just for conceptual purposes, and the melody, which let's just say is a saxophone, okay? And so you want to have, say, the bass as mezzo forte, and the guitar, the chord, maybe that's piano, soft. And you want it soft too because you're playing more than one note, so it's going to sound loud anyway. And then the melody, let's say forte, all right? We're talking about balancing those different parts, okay? That's separate from the dynamic shape, the shape which is really horizontal, okay? That's as opposed to the balance we're thinking vertical. But the shape over time, is it getting louder or softer, right? Is it getting louder, crescendo, or is it getting softer, diminuendo? Those markings are referred to as RELATIVE, relative dynamics. The markings that I have here, the forte, piano, mezzo forte, those are referred to as ABSOLUTE, absolute. Absolute. The difference between absolute and relative, okay? It doesn't help to tell someone, it doesn't help to say, hey, crescendo. That's not enough information. You have to give them absolute markings. You have to tell them, well, we're starting soft and getting louder. We're starting mezzo forte, and we're going to fortissimo. There are various markings, so you got to know that. But so you might, this is your mezzo forte and your piano, right? And also getting louder and softer. Maybe you do that. Getting louder and softer. that's kind of a swell. And also just technically, how do you do that efficiently? Well, it's a bit counterintuitive when we look at the piano and people sit at the piano and they see these keys moving vertically up and down like little pistons of an engine. They typically think, well, I'm going to take my hand or my arm, whatever, I'm going to push them down, I'm going to get them down, and that's not a great idea. The keys respond in that manner, right? But you need to move horizontally, vertically, okay, across the keyboard like this. Okay, it looks like you're wax on, wax off. Remember that? So the minute I play the slow bass note, I'm automatically thinking up here. So I'm playing 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So it sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. See my hand? When I say 4, my hand's already over the low bass note. That's how you learn to play fast. You learn to get on the key before you need it. All right? In advance, ahead of time. Right? You don't wait till the last minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I could do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I was early. I'm playing early. 3, 4, 1. I'll miss notes. You'll miss notes that way. And I want you to notice something too. Regardless of what tempo you're playing at, whether you're playing slowly, right, or quickly, right, regardless, the amount of time it takes to get from the low note to the high note is the same. The same. The only difference is how much time you wait in between each chord. Okay? And that's how you learn to play fast, because the only difference between playing quickly and slowly is the amount of time you wait in between the notes, and that's easily just snipped out. So, this is really the same as, there's really no difference ultimately, okay? So, but now there's another way to practice. Rather than trying to get up to speed and starting slow and getting faster, the better strategy is to repeat notes or to subdivide the beat. So you might go, instead of just doing quarter notes, you might do 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Or you might do 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a... It's still a slow tempo, right? But I'm subdividing it. Slower tempos are actually harder to play than faster tempos, because when you're playing slow tempos, you have to think of the subdivisions. Otherwise, it's very easy for the time to kind of drift, and it takes a lot of years before you can really be able to play with a steady beat and and relax into it and not necessarily have to do that. Although I still do that. I mean, I still do that, but really being precise. And that's especially important if we're playing, classical music and Beethoven and Mozart and Chopin. The music really comes to life when every little I is dotted and T is crossed. When you have that rhythmic, that granular precision in your playing. Again, it doesn't have to be fast, but the essence of playing rhythms correctly is that rhythms are relative to one another, right? So that's the relative, are they half the amount of time or twice the amount of time, And typically those rhythms are typically duplets, groupings of twos, or triplets, groupings of threes. Typically, you can subdivide a beat into 5 parts or 7 parts or irregular parts. Beethoven does it all the time, but that's not typical. Okay, back to what we're doing here. So rather than doing it with one hand, do it with 2 hands. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now, why would you want to do that? Because you get a sense of the music, you get some satisfaction out of it. You can play it at a higher tempo, and you also get you get the sound in your ear. It's very hard to develop a technique if you don't know what sound you want, and particularly if you haven't experienced that, right? But using 2 hands and then subdividing it. Now, there's another element. It's a very important element, I kind of jokingly say it's like 51% of playing the piano, but it's pedaling. Using the pedal, the right pedal. The right pedal is called the damper pedal, also referred to sometimes as the loud pedal or the sustain pedal, but damper pedal is better. And by the way, the word to damp, D-A-M-P, right, means to quiet. So what we're referring to specifically is inside the piano. Every time you play a key, there is a little block of wood with a little piece of felt that rests on the string, prevents it from vibrating. And that damper moves away from the string, off the string when you depress the key, and it allows the string to vibrate, and then the damper goes back on the string and stops the vibration of the string. You could damp the notes individually as you play, or you can use the pedal and collectively do it, right? Why would you want to do it? Number one reason, because the piano sounds more beautiful, because you have that extra sympathetic vibration, the overtones, that patina of sound, right, of harmonics, that makes it sound more beautiful, as opposed to having a dry sound, which is without the pedal. There's nothing wrong with not using the pedal, but typically using a pedal is way better. And rule number one, always start with the pedal down. Now, I don't have a camera on my foot. You wouldn't want a camera on my foot, okay? It wouldn't be pretty. But pretend it's the radio. And, my foot's down first. Always first down on the pedal, then play the note. Now we have the sustain. That's why people call that pedal the sustain pedal. But again, it's not meant to sustain notes. Why not? Because the fingers are meant to connect notes. Connecting the note with the fingers and overlapping the keys. Overlapping, honest legato. Piano teachers are pretty picky about that. And as well they should be. But that's an important aspect. And yes, the piano does get louder when you hold that damper pedal down. Why is that? Well, because there is more sound. It's true. A note played with the pedal down is going to be louder than just played without the pedal. Okay, but that is not why we get louder. We get louder by exciting the hammer towards the string. The two ways we produce sound. We use the weight of our body, the speed of the strike, and the weight both. It's leverage that produces the sound. So you start with the pedal down, boom. Now you have time to move your hand. Oh, look at that. Boom, and you get on that chord. So that's one way to do it. But just because that pedal allows you the luxury of taking your time there does not mean that you should just be really lazy and wander over. If you do that, you will never learn to play the piano. I promise you. You need to learn to be efficient. Now, I'm holding the pedal down the whole time, and I'm starting to hear a cacophony of sound, a clutter. That's not how one uses the pedal. So what you need to do is learn to pedal appropriately, judiciously. When should that be? In general, when the chord changes. So here's the chord, right? New chord, boom, pedal. New chord. That's not a bad idea. If I add the melody, well, that's another problem. Here's holding the pedal down. Hear all that mess in what I'm playing? Why is that? Well, the notes are close together. They're very chromatic. If I hold the pedal down, we typically don't want to hold the pedal down if the intervals are very close like that. So what do? Well, you pedal more frequently. You can pedal more frequently. I practice my scales, right? You practice scale, pedal down, right? Pedal, 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 right? And that is, again, honest legato, overlapping the notes, all right? Okay? Now you add the pedal, and you get more, the tone kind of becomes enriched, right? So you play, pedal, 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 and when you pedal, every piano is a little different, but there is an efficiency. So typically you have an aspect of pedaling which is referred to as lost motion. So lost motion simply means that there is, when you depress the pedal, the dampers might not in fact raise from the strings. On an upright piano, it's not uncommon, especially an older upright American piano, it's not uncommon that the dampers don't respond immediately when you pedal. And there's nothing wrong with the piano necessarily, okay? You can regulate the dampers, but there's a period of time when the dampers do nothing, and then finally the dampers move. And then there's a period of time when the dampers are raised from the strings, and you can keep pushing the pedal, but there's no reason to, because the dampers are already lifted from the string. So why would you want to move the pedal any more than you have to, okay? So you have to use an economy of motion. You have to find that sweet spot in the pedal. Now, typically, grand pianos have better regulated pedals than upright pianos, although modern uprights, especially like Yamaha uprights, are quite responsive. And but grand pianos are typically more efficient because they use gravity. You know, the hammers, the hammers are laying like this and going up towards the string. So gravity is getting them back down to the ground, and the dampers are on the damper wires. They're moving vertically, and gravity is helping. On an upright piano, everything is changed. So now the dampers, here's the string, the dampers are doing this, okay, against the string. And likewise, the hammer is doing this. So you need springs, you need a variety of springs to facilitate the hammer getting towards the string and the dampers. It can be done, but it's different. Conversely, a piano could be a little too efficient, especially some uprights. It could be a little too dry, especially like an older American upright. It's nice to have a little bit of tone. You don't necessarily want the dampers regulated within an inch of their life, because it just sounds overly dry. But in any event, that's a big part of piano playing. And so now if I put this together, now if I hold the pedal down for one full beat, I can still pedal, but I'm going to lose that bass note. So maybe I need blah blah blah. Reverse. Maybe I need to play that bass note more often. So rather than doing this pedal, see, I lost the bass note. I need to play that bass note more often. Pedal, and everything's going by so fast that the ear will just accept it. Okay. These are things that you experiment with, but it makes a big deal in terms of how the stride comes out. Okay, here's another variation on that. So rather than playing the same chord over and over again in the same way, why can't you play an inversion? Here's B flat root position, first inversion, second inversion, third inversion. So B flat D F A flat, D F A flat B flat, F, A flat, B flat, D, A flat, B flat, D, F. I'll bring this up an octave maybe. You see that? Inversions. Right? That kind of thing. Why don't I just notate that for a second here, and we'll, what the heck happened here? My computer. Wow. There we go. Pressed the wrong button. I beeped when I should have bopped. You know that Dizzy Gillespie tune? It's a great tune. Look it up on YouTube. He beeped when he should have bopped. What did I hit? Alt instead of, I said Control instead of Alt or something like that. Anyway. So here's my low B flat. Okay, that's my low B flat, B flat 7. And then we have the chord D, F, A flat, right? Then F, what did I do here? D, F, A flat. I'll put it in a B flat. Should I put it in a B flat? Why not? Okay, I'll put it in a B flat. What the heck? All right. And then F, A flat, B flat, D. Okay. F, A flat, B flat, D. This is D, F, A flat, B flat. Right. That's, even though we have the root down there, I'm going to call that first inversion. And this, I'm going to call that second inversion. And then over here, we'll say A flat, right, B flat, D, and then the F up there, A flat, B flat, D, F. Okay, so this is, for all intents and purposes, this is B flat 7 with D in the bass, this is with F in the bass, and this is with A flat in the bass. So we're playing, playing. I mean, that just as an exercise, exercises, be kind of creative in your practicing, but exercise is supposed to do two things. They're supposed to be musical as well as utilitarian, right? This, we're kind of creating routines for ourselves, disciplined, repetitive, systematic routines, so that we inculcate all of these things in our playing. It's not easy to be good. If it was so easy, everyone would be doing it, right? But look, who gets to be good? Is it the people with the most talent? No. Is it the people who are the smartest? No. Okay. People with the most money? No. Although it helps to have all those things, but what you really need, the talent you need, is the talent of stick-to-itiveness. You have to be willing to do the things that no one else wants to do. No one else wants to do all of this. So, and it takes time before you really start having fun at it. But you just gotta, just suck it up in a little bit, right? Those are the people who become successful at this kind of thing. Okay, hey, let's do a little playing, okay, and kind of, Well, I hope you had a good time. I did. This is Jonathan Eder at the piano lesson. Hope to see everyone next week. See you guys later.